Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back on the weekend series, which is a podcast series on petroleum from scratch. I am Divyanshu. I'm with my teammate Jayesh, and this is a brilliant session lined up for you. I'm with Mr. Sneharsh Ghirnikar, uh, who is titled as a re-attiring military officer. And this is a session which is uh, very interesting in the fact that Mr. Sneharsh is transitioning from the defense, the services towards the corporate roles, and he has trained a lot of people in his journey, and he has been a leader for almost 10 years or more now. And it's going to be a great session because in this session, whatever we talk about will be applicable to almost majority of the people who will be listening to this. And we'll try to ask the challenges. We'll try to ask about the history of how things were managed when Mr. Schneehers was tackling challenges, and then we'll also ask about how do people in the military they manage their time, which is one of the most difficult things that a lot of people face in this era. So welcome on board, Sneharsh sir. How are you feeling today?
Thank you, Divyanshu. Great to be a part of it, a part of this, and I hope I'll be able to provide something based on my experience, and if it helps people, that would be great.
I'm definitely sure the questions I have lined up are coming from a lot of people who actually want to know these things because everyone sees the military, everyone sees the defense people, but no one gets to ask these questions. And I would love to take this opportunity to fill all my curiosity in. So let's start the session. Jayesh, anything you want to say before we start up?
Not as such, because I was also a kind of army aspirant, not army exactly, defense services in aspirant earlier in my college days. So yeah, it is a very exciting session for me also. I'll ask some of the questions that how an engineering background person can apply through various exams, CDS, FCAT, and all those things.
Perfect,
Sure,
perfect.
I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Right. So let's start starting off because time is a crucial factor. I'll start the session with my round of questions. Jayesh, feel free to step in with any particular curiosity you have in your brain. My first question to you, sir, would be like, of course, the introduction of the entire journey from where you were in your bachelor's to what it took to get into to the roles that you have worked on, and what were the exciting experiences that you've had. A brief history of your time. Yeah.
Sure, Divyanshu. So, for the benefit of all listeners, I am Lieutenant Commander Sneharsh Ghirnikar. I've served 10 years. This is my 10th year running in Indian Navy. I did my BTech in mechanical engineering, and I am from University Entry Scheme, which is one of the entry schemes for officers. Uh, as part of the university entry scheme, we have one set of screening which is done before the SSB, which happens generally in the seventh semester. After that, we go for our SSB, followed by medicals, followed by preparation of a merit list, and then you are inducted, and then you go through rigorous training at the various academies. Uh, for me, I went to Indian Naval Academy in Arimala. The journey with Indian Navy has been an amazing journey. We've got all the officers who get commissioned. The difference between the defense forces and the corporate world is that at very young age, an officer tenates the role of a leader, uh, be it leading a group of maybe a two or three men to a team of 100, 150. So the all the corporate jargons which we generally use are actually taught to us in practicality through varied experiences. So that is something which really helps to understand as to how to lead, understand the psyche of a particular person while you are asking him to do a job, and why should he follow you is something which you need to answer yourself first, rather than expecting it from him. um, the journey has been amazing. I got to visit 18 countries, joined Navy, see the world without even a single stamp on my passport. So that was a great, fun fact. Made friends with a lot of friendly foreign nation countries, officers. We are involved in a lot of military exercises and missions with varied naval forces. So it was a great journey, and I'm currently in a tech strategy role, where we, in the coming 10 to 15 years time frame, which all equipment or different ammunitions which we are going to induct, we make a strategy for it. And I've been involved in the way the future of Navy would be panning out, and I'm a part of it, so I feel really privileged. After 10 years, I realized that I have to transition to a corporate role, because I wanted to gain some more experience. So now I'm going to transition. I'll be retiring in June 2023. Currently, I am in Indore. I've been privileged that Defense Forces has given me this opportunity to, learn from one of the premier institutes as to how to make that transition, a smoother transition. So yeah, enjoying that as well.
That's great. I absolutely like the idea of uh, having the exposure to leadership pretty early in your career, because and let me know if my thinking is correct. Because if you are forced to be a leader, not forced, but like if you are exposed to be a leader, that's when you have to ultimately learn, because if your team needs to respect you, which is very important, you need to be there first, right? So that's something that I think a lot of people can, who are starting with their careers, can can try to assume that, like, what if I was supposed to lead someone? What would I do then? A lot of casual learning goes down then, and we start getting more and more serious. So I think it's fair to say that the last 10 years that you have spent versus someone who spent the 10 years in a conventional manner, you have had a much more serious learning curve as compared to others, because you were responsible for a lot of people. So uh, any words on that, if that's how it is?
I think Divyanshu, I agree with you. I'm a firm believer that respect cannot be demanded; it has to be
Yeah,
commanded. And therefore, in order to command respect, you need to fill in the shoes of someone who's following you or following your orders.
right.
Uh, when I speak to my corporate counterparts, generally, you can correct me, because I may not be having an analogy as compared to what is happening in the corporate world. But generally, you start taking up the roles of a leader. You start leading men maybe around seventh or eighth year of your experience. Uh, by that time, you try to learn. Try to make yourself competent enough, and then you start leading men, which is also a good way of doing things. But in the military domain, the whole aspect with respect to leadership is that as early you are as early it is to to when you start leading men, uh, you start learning more, and you start putting yourself into the situations where and our situations are more of a VUCA. VUCA environment is something which is quite prevalent with us. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. These all four terms which are utilized in the corporate these days for certain tasks is something which we do on an everyday operation. So when our operations are so time bound and have to be finished on time, because if not, then they will have cascading effects on the further operations or the further mission that we have. A leader has to be very unambiguous, and unambiguity is something which someone learns by years of experience. And if you start getting those roles early in your professional career, that helps you to fine tune your some skill sets which are important for you to lead. So yes, I think that way I've been lucky enough to be given that opportunity.
Yeah, quick
Mm.
additional question to that is like, because you've been interacting now with a lot of people. I'm assuming at IIM Indore, from a lot of people from the corporate, right? So what things that you feel are something that the military gifted you, and a lot of people are still trying to learn, like you learned that
Mhm.
pretty early. What are the things, if you could mention some?
So the one skill set is basically, as I told you, it's an unambiguous
Right,
leadership.
right, right.
Because if a leader, or in corporate parlance, if a manager is very clear as to what the project is, and if he knows how to align an individual's goal with the organization goal, then it is easier for the project to be completed on time, and it is an efficacious result that you get at the end.
Yeah.
So that is something which I feel, people learn in the corporate world once they have the set of knowledge as well as the set of experience. I was very lucky because defense forces give you that opportunity to put yourself into the situation, as I told earlier. And then, since I have been in a certain situation before, I have a kind of a reflex memory as to this is what is which is required to be done. So that reflex memory starts developing once you are yourself in those roles. So I think practical knowledge is something which cannot be treated in you cannot treat it separately with the knowledge which you gain through theoretical knowledge that you gain. These two are symbiotic in nature. They need to be dealt in with together, with each other. And I'm very happy to see the changes in the course curriculums also. A lot of course curriculum these days in the colleges are case study based,
Mhm.
which helps you, which puts you in those situations, and then you start thinking as to what should be done. So
Mhm.
that is actually helping the graduates nowadays to get themselves into the situation which they would have physically not been able to
Mhm.
because of the lesser experience on their front. But that is something which is great, which I found to be very good. Case study based studies is something which actually helps people in not just trying to do better on the practical front, but it also helps you to realize and put yourself into the situation and then take decisions accordingly.
Mhm.
Mm.
Absolutely. Clarity of speech and thought, at whatever challenging position you are at is something that I think over the time you generate by default. It's still very difficult for majority of the leaders in the corporate field, which is something which causes a lot of trouble in projects, as is evident across the globe. So that's something really interesting. This brings me to a point. I think a lot of engineers, and a lot of my friends, including Jayesh, they keep mentioning their stories of how badly they tried to get into the services. Jayesh, your story first, and like you were telling me something about it. Feel free. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, so as sir already told about the university entrance scheme. So Indian Navy Naval Services also came to my university during my bachelor's day. There, the first round was about this group discussion type of thing was there. So that was I cleared that one, and after that there was the SSB for Naval Service, and I also cleared FCAT exam during 2018 itself. Appeared for SSB in AFSB one Dehradun. There I got a conference out, and also I have given two times. I have given CDS exam, but unfortunately I was not able to get through SSBs. And one of my friend, my roommate during my college days, he kind of appeared for 8 to 9 times for SSB, starting from NDA days itself, during his 12th class itself. So, sir, can you kind of give a brief thing about it that if youngster, an engineer or not an engineer, anybody, any graduate want to enter in defense services, if you wish to enter into defense services, what are different paths that he can choose, and some of the little bit tips for SSBs also.
Sure, Jayesh. And first of all, I wanted to tell that, uh, it is if someone is not able to clear SSB, it should not be taken as a self-doubt. There are a lot of parameters which are checked, and it doesn't mean that someone is not good. It doesn't mean that he's not good as a leader or he's not good as a, there's something which is missing. That's not the case. SSB has a separate parameter. There's a psychology test also. Jayesh, you have given SSB, so you must be aware of it. Uh, and uh, Honestly, if you ask me, I may not be able to tell as to what is the differentiating factor, because it is different for everyone. uh,
Mm,
you won't believe, I wanted to start with one, just a story behind it. So I was preparing for MBA examinations, and I cleared my snap. I was having my SIBM Pune's GDPI round call. Just before that, I got a call from my SSB, and I was in two minds as to what is to be done, because I
mm,
was very much clear that I wanted to take that management path that time, and once I was graduating. So I said, and my father said, yeah, just go and give the SSB. It is an amazing experience. You will get to
mm,
know as to various facets of your own personality which you would not be knowing before. So at this point of time, I had zilch knowledge of what SSB is and
mm,
how SSBs function, and how does the selection happen.
mm,
So I went to SSB, and luckily that was my first attempt. And as you told, there were a lot of people who were attempting for fourth or fifth time, but they could not get through. I was lucky enough to clear the SSB in the first round, and in the first attempt. And I was very happy. It was like, wow, I've cleared the SSB. And after that, I went for my SIBM GDPI round, and I failed miserably there. you know, so it's something which is relative, because something which I was preparing for, which I was quite sure that I will crack, and something which just came out, all of a sudden in between, and that changed the path of my
mm,
career path. So I think this is something which why I wanted to tell you this story was because. The best part about having us being human is that we are very much adaptable to whatever situation life throws at us.
Mm,
uh, Clearing SSB, as far as your tips are, you asked for some tips. I'll tell you what I did. uh,
mm,
uh, I'm not sure as to whether those will be applicable for an individual's case, but I was very honest.
mm,
And the fact that I was not under pressure to clear the SSB actually helped me to be myself.
mm,
It is very important that you don't come under pressure, because this is what happens once you go into the leadership roles also. That
mm,
if you are under pressure, you may not be able to perform to the best of your abilities. So if you're not in pressure, and if you're trying to take the task the way it is coming, I think you'll be performing better. So that actually helped. Secondly, I was very honest. There were a lot of questions in SSBs which I would not like to,
mm.
put it across. I think those who have given the SSB knows, they know that what kind of questions are generally
Yeah.
asked, what situations you're put in. The whole framework is such that you are evaluated as to how critical your decision making would be for the whole process,
Mm,
because your decision affects as I told you, would either have a very good effect or a cascading effect on the other operations. So be very clear, be speak your mind, and don't be under pressure. I think this, if we follow this, I think you'll be performing well. And output is, if you're more focused on what my result is, then the learning from the process will go for a 6. So it is better to learn from the process, and result, you can get it anytime. So I could not
yeah.
clear SIP in Pune. So that is one of the experiences.
The
I
yeah,
have
that thing.
yeah, go ahead, Jesh.
Yeah,
I'll
yes, yes.
yeah, okay. So I have a fun question, sir. If you ever get to interview people for your team in the corporate, for example, what part of your brain would incline towards the SSB framework of selecting candidates? I would
Uh,
love to know that.
I don't want to have that framework, because if that happens, then I'll rather not select people who are attempting it for, the interview second time or the third time. But uh, it is always better to evaluate someone based on his capabilities and his uh, ability to react in a particular situation.
Mhm.
And that is what a part of it is tested in SSB as well. If you're able to react to a situation in a way which is good for an organization, uh, then I think the particular candidate is a good fit for that role. So that is what is to be followed.
Perfect.
Roles and responsibility of a particular job role may also define the interview process, as you said, because in defense services, many others' lives are also dependent on an officer if he is leading a team. So I think so that the complete process or the complete thinking is tested in SSBs mainly. That if put under a pressure, how the person will perform or how he will act.
Hmm.
Yes,
Uh,
that's actually correct, Jayesh. And they search for a well-rounded personality. They don't want you to be having all of the traits, the officer-like qualities during your SSB interview. But will the forces be able to develop it is something
hmm,
that they check. So if you have those attributes which can be developed further into you being a leader, leading men into various difficult
Right.
situations, this is what is to be is generally checked.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for that. One other thing that a lot of people, including me, we face challenges, and we've heard from stories that people in the forces are very strict at the way they manage their calendars and the way they manage their, and that's what you also told us, that clarity of thought and clarity of planning is something that gets to a default in a defense officer's mind. So that's something that I want to ask you, and I've written this detailed question, like how to manage multiple engagements, because that's something that a lot of people, including the youth, they are doing these days. How to manage multiple engagements? How does the military emphasize and focus on discipline? How to train your mind on the same? Like it's of course a long process that that is the result of why the military people are like this, discipline and all. I would love to know if you were there in the first week, or did it take time for you to be that disciplined? So if it is a process, how do people from different roles, they go through the same process? Because I would love to have some discipline in my life as well.
Divyanshu, I think it's a very valid question, especially with so much of social media
Yeah.
interaction these days. Young janta is having, Uh, uh, See, I'll put it this way: no one, uh, it comes to another aspect as to I'm a firm believer of subverting the paradigm. There's nothing which is said as far as one's attitude is concerned, and there's nothing which someone uh, you know takes with him the time he's born. It's something which you keep on inculcating in yourself through the process and through the years of experience, be it in military or in corporate. As far as time management is concerned, our operations are such that everything is scheduled and planned to the last minute of the operation. And once you are in that the system once you are in that system, you start inculcating those habits in your everyday life. I will help you out with one technique which I follow, which one of my mentors in Indian Navy told me, and I've been following it, and it has helped me a lot. That is called VED analysis. It is vital, essential, and desirable analysis. Now, this is a type of time management skill which one can follow. Suppose you have 10 tasks for a day, right? Now you need to divide those tasks as far as to and one more thing, time management and discipline are again having a symbiotic association. If you're disciplined enough, you will find time management is something which you can do it out of your reflex. And if you manage your time well, that is actually a trait of you being disciplined. So VED analysis is vital, essential, and desirable. All the tasks that you have for the day, please divide it into these three parts. Now, suppose a college student has a project to submit, and by end of the day, the project has to be completed. That becomes your vital task. There's one essential task which is required to be finished over a duration of 2 to 3 days. So that becomes your essential task. And then comes your desirable task, as in where you are able to if you do it well and good, if you don't do it, that will not affect your that day's timelines. So divide these 10 tasks for the day into these three different systems: vital, essential, desirable. If one starts doing it, you will realize that uh, things would start falling in place, and you will have some time to think about all these tasks and then do it, rather than doing it in shortage of time, and then just for the sake of completion you complete any task. So time management is very important, and it actually can make or break your career. uh, and of course, the projects as well. In the corporate world, there are a lot of projects which one takes, and anything which affects your critical path of your project becomes your vital task. So I think if you start inculcating these habits on an everyday basis, the VED analysis will help you a lot.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think that delineation between the tasks should happen at the start of the day, is it? You wake up and you decide what's planned for today and what's the V, what's the E, what's the D. So how do you do it? Do you do it on the daily basis, or do you like do you plan it on a weekly basis? Uh,
Uh, in the starting, I used to do it on daily basis. Once you're out of college, you generally feel, "Yeah, what is this here? It's of no
mhm,
use. I mean, come on, why is someone telling me to do VED analysis? It's like a
yeah.
normal mundane activity which I will otherwise keep, will complete it." But once I started doing it, I could see the results. I got some time for myself to think as to what I want to do, put more thoughts behind each and every task.
Mm,
And after doing it for 5 years, 6 years, I realized that I may not need to sit down in the morning after I brush my teeth and note down the points, that this is my VED task of today. Then it becomes a part of your everyday activity. But for starters, it is very important. There's nothing wrong in jotting it down.
mm,
The more things which are in front of you, the better it is for you to connect with them.
right.
So rather than keeping it at the back of your mind and then doing it, it's better to jot it down, be a bit methodical in it.
Mm,
And then, once you're doing it day in and day out, you'll realize that it is very easy to keep a track of these things.
yep, absolutely.
Hmm. So how is your transition going on? Are you feeling great into switching into this corporate world from army? How is that going on? And for one more question followed by that, why did you choose data science only of all the things, data science industry? What actually kind of motivated you, or how did you make that decision?
So, Jayesh, getting into forces, how much tough it is. It
Yeah,
is tougher to get out of the service the same way. It's as tough as it is. First of all,
that becomes a lifestyle, right?
it becomes tough because you are now very much clear with the way of life it is for you for last so many years. And the change itself is something from your status quo, is itself a very anxious and exciting journey. I'm trying to cope up with it because there are a lot of things which I'm trying to learn, which are prevalent in the corporate world, which we keep on doing on everyday basis, but we don't have any particular term for it. So there are certain tasks which we used to do as part of our daily routine. That okay, we have to manage people, we have to manage operations. There is procurement which we are doing, but why behind that is something which I'm very happy to happy that I'm trying to learn, and I'm getting the opportunity to learn from IIM Indore. The theory behind the practical part is also as important as the practical after the theory. So
Wow.
I'm trying to learn both the parts of it. uh, I'm still evaluating my options. So let's see where this journey takes me. Again, it's about the process rather than the destination. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
learn from the process. Data science is a field which I am quite excited about this field, because petroleum from scratch, and I think data science is the new oil,
Yeah.
because data is something which find its application in almost all the industries. We at Defense Forces also utilize data science to a great extent. Uh, so when I was analyzing the data, I was not aware as to which all modeling has gone behind it. What are the algorithms behind it? Why have I got this data and how have I got this data is something which I never got an opportunity because of I've never came across the field. It was when I started my journey in the tech strategy role. We used to get a lot of data and we had to analyze and come up with some deliverables out of it, the deliverables out of the analysis part. And that time I realized that it's a field which needs to be which I need to put in more effort into. And then it was, I think, 1.5 years back when I started my postgraduate program in data science and business analytics. I'm still pursuing it. I told Divyanshu I don't want to discuss much on data science with you guys because it is like showing light to the sun. So, so but yes, it's an exciting field, and there are a lot of things which we can do, which we in which data science can help develop our country to a greater extent in all the fields. And I think India is probably the best example where data science can be utilized, and the results can be shown very easily. There are a lot of
Mm.
projects where the results are not so easily visible, but with so much of population and so many restrictions on the resources, the analytics part actually can help you come out with some deliverables which will show you result very soon. So that was an
Mm.
exciting part,
Right.
and that's why I wanted to, put more efforts towards data science. And I'm sure some of the podcasts and the posts by Divyanshu would, they have helped me in the past, and they will again help me. They'll again help me in future to, learn more about it.
And that being said, I will also hold you for one more session, sir, because because I think based on the limited budget that is 0 rupees that we don't have the Zoom premium with us, and we are almost at the top of the hour. But given the amount of anticipation that this session has had, I think we could only touch the surface for now. I would request you to give us one more session at least, and where we would like to know more about the aspects that you have discovered in your, because you told me off air that you are a turbine specialist, like you have a good physics background to your journey, and you must have definitely discovered where things could be improved using analytics or machine learning or something like that. So, given that perspective, which I think you have better for our country, I would love to have a detailed session, which would be assuming we are disciplined enough and we have managed our time. How would you, what are the target areas that you would suggest that the youth should focus on? Because a lot of people are getting into data science, a lot of people are doing it just for the sake of it. I want people to start thinking of impact now. And this is something that I would love to know. This is been a great session. I do not think it's enough for us, but I would love to know meet you again. Just 1 minute remaining, sir. Final words from you before we see you again.
I hit like, subscribe, and press the bell. Petroleum from scratch. It was an amazing opportunity, and I would meet you again if at all we are having another session.
Definitely.
And thank you for giving me this opportunity. Whenever you get time, I'll to all the audience, please help the veterans. They are doing it for the country, and be it officers or men, they are great people to have a talk with, and they will give you some life lessons free of cost. And they've got great stories to discuss. So please help them in their journey, in their second innings, because that is something which is a way you can do something for the society. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank
Thank
you,
you
sir.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the session. Thanks a lot.